there have recently been a large number of allegations that Britain is a racist country. And having lived in this country for over 50 years, I'd like to start off at the outset by refuting that statement. That has not been my experience. The average Brit is a solid, straightforward, direct, and completely fair and just person in my experience. What is true, however, is that there is institutional racism, and as Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, recently admitted, he said that the Church of England is a deeply institutionally racist entity, and that is something that I do totally agree with, and applaud his courage in making that statement. Institutional racism is actually at the heart of this particular issue. The institution in question is Unite the Union. Now, I have been a member of Unite the Union for quite some time, but within the Union there is something called the Faith Workers Branch, and the Faith Workers Branch has traditionally been dominated by Anglican Christians. Over the last year, I have witnessed the power base, the figures who wield authority within the Union, act in a manner which is clearly white supremacist. It is intended to humiliate and to deny people of colour justice and indeed equality of opportunity. I have witnessed personally firsthand a person of colour, an imam in this particular instance, wanting to raise a point at a meeting, requesting to share a point of order, being responded to by a white Christian executive committee member with a banging of fists on a table, particularly intended to humiliate him, but also to drown out his voice. I have seen occasions where an agenda item, which is intended to give some degree of access or some degree of progress to a grouping which is from people of colour, appearing on agenda, perfectly happily being on the agenda for over a month, and then on the day of the executive meeting, when the minority traditions arrive at that particular meeting, the agenda item is mysteriously and for no reason whatsoever just discarded. A statement made saying, we're not going to address this. When attempts are made to ask questions as to why that's not going to be addressed, other motions have been submitted saying we should ignore the item and indeed deny the opportunity to explore the reasons behind that item being excluded. Those are just two examples. We have other much more serious examples which are documented and which are evidenced. And these have all led us to come to the conclusion that the officers of Unite the Union consciously and deliberately have acted to deny members of the non-white religious community from accessing the Union's resources, from depriving these communities from being able to use the Union's position in order to seek equality in other areas, in order to receive services in other areas. We have witnessed a non-white Anglican pastor, a deeply respected gentleman, being pressurized and bullied, instructed and required to make changes to minutes to conceal some of the unpleasantness which is a regular feature at these meetings. So we have pushed this forward, and what we've wanted to do was to have it resolved internally. But the Union itself and its officers and the executive of the Faith Workers Branch have decided that no, they don't want to address these issues internally, and have put us in a position where we are now seeking legal advice. Legal instructions have been given, and we're seeking legal representation and support to require Unite the Union to act in accordance with its own rule book, and to require Unite the Union to impose equality of opportunity and equality of access and equality of influence in the Faith Workers Branch, and to ensure that those members of non-white communities who have courageously stood forward to challenge the institutional racism within the Union, that they are protected, they are not humiliated, that they are not pressurized, and they are not bullied. This is a major issue. and one in which we would be very, very grateful for your support.